there, my name is Kelly Dale and I'm owner of Off the Beaded Path located in Forest City, North Carolina. For today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a pair of Flabellum earrings. These are earrings that are stitched using Bugle Beads and Super Duos and some other materials. So they're a lot of fun and they're quick and they're very light when you actually wear them. Very, very lightweight. So what you're going to need for the project today is you're going to need approximately 34 Super Duo beads, and double check to make sure that both your holes have been poked through and are good. 24 number 3 bugle beads. These are not the shortest bugle beads, but the next size up. Some people call them number 3, some people call them 6 millimeter. You're going to need 8 3 millimeter bicones, approximately 40 size 11 seed beads, a pair of ear hooks, a size 12 beading needle, and 4 yards of 6-pound Fireline. So go ahead and get your materials and we'll get started. So here's the earring and the color combination that I'm going to be showing you how to make today. This is the Blue Iris. I've used the Blue Iris Bugles, Blue Iris Duos, and then the Jet AB 3 millimeters. The difference in using the bugle beads, this is the number 3. And then this is one that's a little bit longer. This is a number 5 bugle. You can see that it does make the earring longer and it doesn't tend to fan out as much. So if you want to use different size bugles, you can, but just be aware that it does change the way that it fans out and it looks. And it does make a difference for the length. So to get started, what I've done is I've taken my needle, I've threaded it on 2 yards of thread, put my needle in the center, and then I put a knot in the very end of the thread. This is a technique by Diane Fitzgerald that works really good, especially when you're working with the bugle beads, because they tend to have some sharp insides to them. So I just like to do this technique. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to thread on 1 bugle bead, 1 size 11 seed bead, and 1 bugle bead. I'm going to let these beads fall to about 1 inch of my knot. I'm going to take and separate the thread in between my bead and the knot, and I'm going to stick the needle through that little separation. I'm holding the bead so that they don't pull through, because what I want to do when I pull it through is I want it to look just like this. And then once I have that, I'll take the needle and I'm going to come right back through the first bugle bead that I put on. I'm going to go right back down through it. And then, let me get it pulled nice and tight here. Then what you'll have is something that's going to look like this. Now, if you look at the sample, you can see that your seed beads are going to be along the bottom here in between your Super Duos, and then the top has nothing on it. So this will give you a good thought process as to what's the top and what's the bottom. I'm going to reinforce this one more time. So I'm going to go through the 11, the bugle, and then the same 11 just to get a good reinforcement of this first set. So through the 11, the bugle, and the 11, or the bugle, sorry. This will hide the knot in there too, so you won't have to worry about it. Okay, so I'm coming out of the bottom, so I'm going to pick up an 11 and a bugle bead. I want to make a circle, so I'm going to come right back down to the same bugle bead that I'm coming out of. So that now I've got my new 11 and my new bugle. I'm going to stick the needle through the 11 and then through the bugle to get in position to add the next set of beads. So now I'm coming out towards the top. I'm going to pick up a bugle and an 11, so it's exact opposite. I want to make the circle, so I'm going to come right back up through this bugle and pull And to get into position, I'm going to come right down through the bugle. Again, I'm coming out of the bottom, so I'm going to pick up an 11 and a bugle. I want to make a circle, so I'm going to come right back down through this same bugle. And to get into position to add my next set of beads, I'm going to go through the 11 and the bugle. So now I'm coming out of the top. I want to pick up a bugle and an 11. I want to make that circle, so I'm going to come right back up through that bugle. And then to get into position, come right down through the very next bugle. So far, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bugles added. You want to continue adding the bugles and the 11s, just like I've showed you, until you have 10 bugle beads added. So now that I have all 10 bugle beads added, my thread is coming out of the end bugle bead. I'm going to come through the very first 11 here on the end. You want to pick up one super duo, and you're going to go straight through the next 11. And we want to do this all the way down, so we're going to pick up a duo and go through the 11, pick up a duo and go through the 11. Just do this all the way down. And be careful, since you're working with your doubled thread, just be careful to make sure you don't go through the opening of the thread, or you're going to see some thread around these duos. I've added them all the way across, and I'm going to come up through this last bugle bead, which would actually be the very first bugle bead that you started with. So this is what you should have this far. I'm ready to add my hanger, so I'm going to pick up an 11, a bugle, and 11, a duo, 11, bugle, and 11. And I'm going to take my needle. I'm coming out of the very first bugle. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go right down through the very last bugle, so that when you pull, this is what your piece should look like. When you come out of the last bugle, now we have to get into position to start adding our embellishments. So I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to go right through the beads that I've already added. So I'm going to go through that 11 and my duo, and I'm going to do this all the way down until I come out of this last duo here on the end. So I've stitched all the way to this last duo, and I'm going to take the needle and come through the second hole of the same duo. So working back towards the duos, just going down through the second hole. I'm going to pick up one 3mm bicone and go right through the very next duo. Pick up a duo, go through. You only go through one hole. Don't go through two holes like I just did. Then duo. Go all the way down, adding your duos until the very last one. We want to put a 3mm bicone in that last stitch. So we're just zooming on down, adding our duos, and then my last little opening here is where I'm going to put the 3mm, so that the beginning and the end of the row look identical. So it's going to look just like this. Now what I've got to do is I have to get into position to start the next row. So I'm going to, and the next row will actually start down here at this duo. So I'm going to come through the top hole and I'm going to go back through top hole of the same duo that I'm coming out of, and the next 11, duo, and 11. If you can get through these at the same time, great. If not, don't mess up your needle. Just take it one bead at a time. And then going through the next duo. So again, to review how I got here, I went through the top hole of the same duo that I was coming out of, the 11, the duo, the 11, and the duo. I'm going to come through the bottom hole of the same duo that I'm coming out of, and then through the top hole of the very next duo. So bottom hole of the one I'm coming out of, and then top hole of the very next one. Pull the thread through, and then take your needle and come down through the bottom hole of the same duo that you're coming out of. So this way it gets you into position to start the next row here. And we're going to do it just like we did the previous row. First, we're going to start out with a 3mm. So I'm going to pick up a 3mm bicone. Going to go through the open hole of the very next duo. Then I'm going to pick up a duo, go through, duo, go through. And on this last hole, I've got to add a 3mm. So I'm going to pick up a 3mm bicone, and I'm going to go through the last duo for that row, so that when you get it, this is what you're going to have. Now we've got to get into position because we've got to add a bead down here in that last little hole. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to sew all the way back across, and then down and across. So I'll tell you what we're doing. Coming up through the same hole that I'm coming out of, I'm going to go through this hole, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Basically going to come all the way back through to that last duo on the second row. So go through top hole of the one I'm coming out of, bottom hole of the next one. And again, if you can only get through one at a time, only do one. If you can get through two at a time, go through two. Completely up to you. Go through top hole, bottom hole. Top hole, bottom hole. Top hole, bottom hole. And so that I'm coming out of the very last duo, so that it's going to look just like this when I get to the end of the row. Now I'm going to take the needle, I'm going to come back through the bottom hole of the same duo I'm coming out of, and I'm going to go on through the 3mm, bottom hole, top hole, bottom hole, and top hole. And then once I get that pulled through, I'm going to go through the bottom hole of this duo here, first duo on that next row. This is my last actual bead I have to add for this part, so I'm going to pick up one duo, and I'm going to go right through that very next duo. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch through my beads all the way through to come out of the very top hole here of this top super duo, so that I can add my loop and for the earring holder. So go ahead and stitch all the way to the top. You want to be coming out of that top hole, and I'll show you how to add your earring. So I've exited the very top hole of my duo. You want to pick up 6 size 11 seed beads, and you're going to come right back through the same top hole that you're coming out of to make a circle, and this will be the hanger for the earring. So we want to go back through all 6 again to reinforce. And then you're going to go back through the same hole of the duo that you're coming out of. And at that point, you're ready to tie off your thread. So I go back down through the same duo, just the open hole here. Stick the needle under the thread between the duo and the 11. Leave yourself just a little loop. Stick the needle through the loop and pull. And then I go through the 11 and the bugle. I'm going to go under the thread between the 11 and the bugle. Leave a loop. Stick the needle through the loop and pull. And then I'm going to go on down through this last little bugle here on the end and trim the thread. Or you can use your thread zapper, whatever you've got handy. If I can see here today, Lord help me. So that now you have the completed earring. And as you can see, I've added the ear hook to this one, and I used a lever back hook on this one, but you can use any kind of ear hook you wish. But you'll do follow the same steps to do the second earring so that you'll have your pair. So I hope you guys enjoyed making these earrings today. Kits and patterns are available on our website, which is offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com, or on our Etsy page, etsy.com/shop, SHOP, /off the beaded path. Hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.